Bring in Congressman Jason Smith of Missouri. It's good to see you. My home state. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Do I have this right that the pick of J.D. Vance speaks to the working class Americans? That's what hopes to speak to. Hillbilly Elegy, a man who came up from poor Appalachia, went to Yale Law School, and that is who J.D. Vance is expected and hoped to attract.
J.D. is a product of the working class. He grew up in Appalachia. It's very similar to the Ozarks that we have back home in Missouri. And so this will connect to people all over the country, especially in rural America, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, West Virginia, because that is what the party is today. We are the party of the working class. We're not the country club Republicans. It's focused on real Americans, and that's, for example, why President Trump has moved to not tax tips, because we are the ones delivering for real Americans.
It seems that I just heard the speaker mention mortgage. I have heard more about home prices at this convention than I have in every other convention that I have been at combined. Tell me how the messaging for tonight, we know that President Trump said he ripped up his speech. Tell me how the messaging has changed since what you would have expected, say, on Saturday morning.
It's about unity. The Republican Party is unified. The American people are unified. They are fed up with inflation that's gone up 20.1%. They are fed up with more than $1 trillion of credit card debt. They're fed up with the highest interest rates in 3 decades. They want to change. They like the best economy in their lifetime, which was when Donald Trump was president, and he'll return us to that.
Looking at J.D. Vance, and you make a great point that this is speaking, I don't know if we Republicans really have to worry about West Virginia, but they do have to worry about Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That speaks to this voter, a battle for the working class. And in fact, Joe Biden's campaign just put out a statement talking about how a second Trump term will be terrible for working class Americans. I know you'll disagree with that. But J.D. Vance does something else. Donald Trump felt betrayed by Vice President Pence. He's made that clear. And J.D. Vance is not the insurance policy. A lot of moderate voters, I'm thinking you could call them country club Republicans, but they're swing voters in places like Chesterfield, Missouri, swing voters in suburban Atlanta, who may be a little skeptical of Donald Trump post the last election and are looking for someone who will stand up to him. J.D. Vance isn't going to do that.
J.D. Vance is going to be a great addition to the ticket. Definitely, President Trump feels that he's loyal to him, and he's loyal to working class Americans. That's why he's put on the ticket. That's, in fact, why he'll be there. The vice president does not make or break an election.
Respectfully, it did for John McCain. The pick of Sarah Palin, it got a raucous applause. I was there in 2008. The crowd went wild for Sarah Palin and putting lipstick on a pig and hockey moms and pit bulls. But when she got out into the national media, people had a real fear, for lack of a better term, of her becoming the president, a heartbeat away. Is there a thought, a reason? What do you say to people who feared that with J.D. Vance?
If that was the case, they would have never elected Joe Biden, because that is how Americans feel about the current vice president of the United States. The vice president the candidate does not affect the president. Donald Trump will get elected because of Donald Trump. He had so many options, he could have picked anyone. J.D. Vance or any VP nominee will not affect that. I would have to disagree and think there's other reasons why John McCain lost, and it wasn't because of Sarah Palin.
Okay, fair enough, and I think we can talk about that. We're listening to one of the many videos that talks about the economic fight that Americans are going through. You're one of the more influential members of Congress. It's why we're glad to have you tonight. That means you're pretty influential here at the convention. What has been the message that's gone out from the Trump campaign on how to capitalize, and I hate putting it in political terms, but we're at a convention, on the events of both Joe Biden's debate performance and then the events of Saturday?
What we are capitalizing on tonight, it's Make America Wealthy Again. Looking at the economy, we're hitting the issues. If in fact people focus on the issues at hand between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Donald Trump will win all 50 states because our policies win. Our policies are the right for the average American, for all Americans. And that's what we're focused on. It's not about personalities, whether Joe Biden is fit to lead or whether people are upset with mean tweets.
I'm thinking about the picture, I don't know if we can put it back up, of Donald Trump. And the imagery of seeing the former president for the first time with a bandage on his ear after that attempted assassination and avoiding death by that far. What was your emotions when you first saw him?
You know, it was pretty powerful. For 48 hours ago, all Americans saw him get shot. He dropped to the floor. We thought maybe he was dead. You didn't know because we heard the bullets go down. But the strength when he jumped up in the conviction with the blood on his face and the fist in the air, that's what American people wanted. They want a leader that's going to fight for them. And that's in fact what he's doing. The fact that less than 48 hours ago, he was an attempted assassination and he's not fearful. He is continuing. He's not allowing a shooter to change his schedule. And he is exactly what Americans want. And the world leaders, they see that. They look at that. They fear that. That's why when he was president of the United States, there was not one new war. That's why North Korea stopped shooting missiles. That's why Russia had not invaded Ukraine, and they sure wasn't a war in Israel. It's because leaders feared that strength that we all saw on Saturday.
What do you want to hear from, unquestionably, your leader on Thursday?
I think he's gonna be who he is. And he
said he ripped up his speech.
He's going to be exactly who he is. People will see his heart. He will see how he cares about America and how he wants to unite this country, whether it's Republicans, Democrats, Independents. He wants to unite.
Is there going to be, rather than the typical fire and brimstone convention speech, is this an opportunity for Republicans? Look, he was all of our presidents for 4 years. Some people liked him, some people didn't like him. But even when I was with a bunch of folks during the moments after he was shot, Republicans, Democrats, everybody was completely shook. Our country itself, and I don't think the country really realizes sort of what we went through on Saturday night, how it would have been so different with this kind of margin. The emotion, though, for Americans, how does he tap into that, not just for Republicans, not just for those in the convention hall?
He'll bring it with unity. And I think that you'll see
What does
that.
Unity, though, really mean? I keep hearing this word.
Unity is how can you make Americans' lives better? How can we be out of these wars? How can we feel secure in our own homes? How can we feel like crime is being reduced? How can we make sure our paychecks grow? Under Donald Trump, paychecks grew by 5%, real wages. That it had the best economy, the lowest unemployment for blacks, black Americans, Hispanic Americans in the history of the United States. The poverty rate was the lowest ever in recorded history. These are things that affect real Americans. They care about their paychecks. They care about providing food for the table, clothes on their backs, gasoline in their cars. That is what he needs to speak to, and I think you'll see success.
Spoken as the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, a man who understands the finances here. But that goes into an important point here. Is the pitch about Donald Trump a policy-based one, and which is what you're talking about, or is it going to be more of an emotional one based on that image of a man who was shot, the first former president, sitting president, to be shot in 43 years?
I think it'll be both, because you can talk about policy with emotion, and I think you're going to see both of that. He's going to be the real Donald Trump, who people will hopefully see his heart.
All right, Congressman, we appreciate being here, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. You think about how different the Republican National Convention is today versus what we all thought it was going to be here on Saturday. It's a very different event.
It absolutely is, but it's a great event.
All right, Congressman, it's good to see you, sir, as always.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Always.
much. We appreciate it.